It's the Final Word Cricket Podcast with Adam Collins. I'm down at Hove, where the Sussex County Cricket Club play their home games, and sat opposite me in quite an idyllic setting, actually, a park table, a windy afternoon, as it often is here, is Cheteshwar Pujara, Indian legend. Welcome to the Final Word.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam.
It's great to have you with us. We've wanted to talk for a long time and talk to you because we've really enjoyed the way you've gone about your unusual international career. I suppose you're something of an outlier, aren't you, in this explosion of Indian cricket? So much of it has been geared around the IPL and 20-over cricket. And here's you, a red ball specialist who's been able to make himself a massive part of the story.
Yeah, I think I always loved playing Test cricket. When I was young, I grew up watching some of the Indian legends playing Test cricket. So yeah, even when I got first picked in the IPL, which was 2008, 2009, I still remember I still wanted to play for the Indian team, and I hadn't made my debut for the Indian Test team then. So my debut was in 2010, and yeah, since then it has been a remarkable journey. But yeah, I love playing Test cricket, and I think it's the ultimate format of this game. Times have changed. I still feel that many youngsters now wants to play white ball cricket, whether it's for the Indian team or whether it's the franchise cricket. But yeah, I still love playing red ball cricket.
And you've played a lot of it over here as well. I mentioned your career here at Sussex, which has been a very successful one. I think you've made 8 first-class hundreds, a couple of white ball ones as well, including one last week. I mean, you clearly still just love batting. I mean, beyond all else, doesn't matter where you're doing it or what team you're playing for, you love being out in the middle.
Yes, I do, and I'm thankful to Sussex for having me here. I started playing for Sussex from last season, and I had a wonderful time here when I first started playing here. So I told myself that I need to be in touch with the game. I felt that after COVID, I hadn't been playing a lot of first-class games. And I felt that if I keep playing some first-class cricket, it always helps me in the international circuit as well. So yeah, it's always good to be here. I mean, it's a wonderful atmosphere whenever I play at home in front of a home crowd. It's always special. But yeah, being part of Sussex, it has helped me immensely in my cricketing journey. And I would love to continue doing this, no matter what format I play for Sussex. I'm also playing in one-day competition as well for Sussex. So yeah, I love playing cricket, and yeah, as a batsman, it's my duty to score as many runs as possible. So I'll try and continue doing that.
I remember when Virat Kohli was captain of India, he spoke about loving coming to England because he simply didn't get mobbed here in quite the same way that he does at home or in other parts of the cricketing world. Here, there is that lovely, gentle atmosphere in county cricket, isn't there? You can go out and do your work, and there aren't sort of hundreds of thousands or millions of people watching you do it necessarily.
Yeah, I think same with me. Whenever I'm here in England, whether I'm on my own or with my family, we can just walk out on the streets without getting bothered too much. So yeah, you enjoy this atmosphere. But yeah, I mean, not to forget that there are millions of people in India who loves cricket, and when we are at home, the kind of fan following we get, we do respect it. So there's nothing against it. But yeah, whenever we are here, we get a little more privacy. We can just walk around freely without getting bothered. But yeah, at the same time, we respect the passion for the Indian people, the way they follow cricket, the way they follow throughout us wherever we're playing in the world. I think it's probably one of the best supported teams in the world.
What I'd like to do on this interview is go back to the start of your cricketing life, and clearly your dad Aravind, he's a big part of that story, having played in the Ranji Trophy. Your uncle as well was Shastra, a gritty wicketkeeper batter, as it was said of him, and how he watches every innings of yours meticulously. I'm sure he's watching the streams when you're playing here at Sussex and all the rest of it as well. I mean, do you feel like you've become more and more like him over the years, with that kind of strong, stoic personality?
Yes, look, my father, he started coaching me when I was 8 years old, and since then it's been a long journey. We have come a long way, I would say, because he's my father and he's my coach as well. So it's never easy.
Right.
I would say there are times where we have some arguments because we have difference of opinion. But ultimately, our goal is very simple: to make sure that I try and perform in each and every game I play, whether it's for the Indian team, whether I'm playing for Saurashtra team back home, or whether I'm playing for Sussex team, or wherever I'm playing. One thing both of us agree on is that I should be giving my best in whatever games I play, and then to be successful, there are times where you will fail, and how you deal with your failure is very important, and that's what we have discussed over a period of time. And that's when there are some arguments which will start, because he's my father, and he's at home. Whenever we are at home, we end up talking about cricket, but I always try and tell him that I need to switch off at times, and over a period of time he understands that, he agrees that I need my time without thinking about cricket. But yeah, it's been a great journey. Both of us, we think a lot about cricket, and there are times where you just need to switch off and then live your life as well. So yeah, we have come a long way, but I'm really thankful to him for all the support he has provided me in my cricketing career, not just as a coach, but even as a father. I lost my mom when I was 17, so yeah, it was a tough time for both of us, and we have seen our highs and lows in the life. So ultimately, I think we are really happy with the way things have gone in my cricketing career.
It's quite interesting that you've done pretty much all one can do in Test cricket, and still an active player. I know there was some reports that you'd retired a few weeks ago when left out of the Windies squad, but you're very much still available for selection. But even now, he can offer insight to you about your batting that you won't necessarily be able to detect yourself.
Yeah, I agree, because he has seen me when I was young, and he has seen the journey. He has seen some technical changes as well. So yeah, he can still advise me. I still listen to what he has to say. We try and discuss it out. We try and we try and make sure that we come to a conclusion whenever we start discussing about something. So yeah, I still listen to him.
There was a lot made this year of not just you being here, but Steve Smith being at Sussex, and Marnus Labuschagne came down here for a game against you as well when playing for Glamorgan. You're all seen as like batting junkies. You spend so much time in the nets perfecting your game. But linking back to your dad again, him sending you off to play club cricket in Mumbai in the very competitive sort of corporatised club system there, where companies pay players to play, and all the rest of it, and you being in Mumbai and trying to perfect what you did. Because there are so many millions of Indian boys who grow up, boys and girls, but boys in the case of your competition, wanting to be in the top 6 for India. You have to set yourself apart, and the only currency worth anything in that is just bulk runs and spending tens of hours in the middle of a season, and you found ways of doing that through club cricket.
Yes, I have. I mean, it was very kind of my father to figure that out, because it's never easy when you're young, when you haven't played at a professional level, to move out of your town, to move out of your state, and start playing somewhere else is always a challenge. So we went to Mumbai to play some club cricket, and it was his idea that I get practice on different kind of pitches across India. Especially in Mumbai, you get different pitches on different grounds. So to have that experience at an early age has helped me immensely. But yeah, to be successful, I think as a young player, because there is a lot of competition out there in Indian cricket, one has to be balanced, I think, mentally and emotionally, because you are challenged as a player early on in your career. Because once you start playing professional cricket, once you are in the circuit, once you start playing Ranji Trophy or any big tournaments in India, you get better support. You are in that circuit, and you have access to the best of the facilities as well. But when you are growing up, when you are young, when you haven't played at the professional level, you're still trying to figure out so many things. You're not sure as a person that whether you want to become a professional cricketer. You're still learning, whether you're not sure whether you will be able to make it to the next level. So that's the journey, I think, which many cricketers go through in India. And I would say the percentage of players who has been successful is very, very less, because there are millions of people playing cricket in India, and it's never easy to make it to the highest level. There's a lot of competition, but one has to be mentally really, really strong. You have to be dedicated towards the game. You have to be disciplined. One thing I've learned from playing red ball format is what you do on and off the field matters a lot. So it's not just about what you are doing on the field, but how you behave, how you conduct yourself off the field matters a lot.
You mentioned discipline and being balanced, and And in a previous answer about your mum passing away when you were young, there's a really nice line in a profile written about you by Virat Kohli a few years ago about how your mum would control your use of video games by saying that you'd need to do your prayers first for 10 minutes, then you could play video games. And you said in that interview that it was her influence that helped you get that inner balance early on. Could you just build on that, her influence? I know that she died in 2005, but all the way through nearly 20 years later, that the lessons she taught you are still informing the cricket you play.
Yeah, it does. I mean, look, the person who I am, I would like to say the kind of personality I have, or the values which I've learned is from my mom. I mean, my father is my coach. In cricketing journey, he has helped a lot. But as a person, one needs to be balanced, and I've learned from my mom about that. And as we are talking about her allowing me to play video games and still making sure that I do my prayers every day, I still do it. I think that has helped me immensely in my cricketing career. I feel that whenever I follow a certain routine which has helped me in my cricketing journey, because you go through a lot when you are playing for the Indian team. There are expectations and you are bound to fail in between. So how you manage yourself, how you can stay balanced, and for me, my prayer routine has helped me in that. My mother never thought that I'll end up playing for the Indian team. Obviously, we as a family, we dreamt that I do play for the Indian team.
Right.
But when she passed away, I hadn't made my debut for the Indian team. But she knew that there's a potential. I might go to a next level in cricket. And I think she might have seen something in me. She might have, I mean, it's the values which matters the most in a person's life. Yes, you are a professional cricketer. People know you, but how you behave with your fans, how you behave with other people, I think that is something which means more to me rather than just being a cricketer, not just being a famous cricketer, but I would say that how you behave with your teammates, how you behave with your colleagues, and anyone you meet. I think there are times where you end up meeting so many fans, and they want to know about your journey. So how you behave with them is important, and I think that I've learned all these things from my mother, because I still remember, I've said this many times, that she has told me one thing: no matter how successful you are in your profession, it doesn't matter, but how you are as a person matters the most. So I always try and make sure that I behave myself.
It's lovely. It's like linking the spiritual with your Hindu religion to your mum and the tragedy of her premature passing, and your profession. Those three strands running through your daily life.
Yeah, it does. And as a family, we have been through a lot. So when I was young, I had tough days. I used to go to the school, and then the moment I was back from my school, my mom used to keep some snacks ready for me, because I had an afternoon school. So I used to go by 12 o'clock in the afternoon and come back by 5:30 in the evening. So I'll have a quick snack and then go to the practice. I used to finish my morning practice sessions as well before going to the school. So I used to practice twice a day.
Right.
And there are some wonderful moments which we had as a family when I was young, and I would like to thank my parents for all my success.
Around the same time that your mum passes away, you're making your debut for Saurashtra in 2005. It's sort of funny that, and I've had this put to me in the past, that runs at Rajkot, certainly in that era, were viewed as though they had less value due to the surface being seen as a flat one, and thus you needed to bat for even more time and make even more runs to stand out in a world where there were so many flashier, more striking, white ball oriented players. You're coming through and batting on these tracks, and you made it count. You made so many double hundreds in that early part of your career.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I used to score runs at Rajkot, I was told that I'm scoring runs because I'm playing on a flat pitch. But if you look at the scorecards of the number of games I've played at Rajkot, and there are batters who have played from the opposition team, and they didn't get runs. So that means that the pitch might be flat, but you still need to score those runs. But the moment I started scoring hundreds, it wasn't good enough. Then I thought that I need to score a bit more, because Saurashtra was a weaker team then. So whenever I used to get out after scoring 100, we used to get bowled out for say 300, 350, which wasn't good enough on that pitch. I thought on that pitch you needed more than 400 runs on the board, and that's how I started scoring big runs.
Right.
I told myself that if we want to win games, I need to score big runs, and that's how I started scoring double hundreds. And there are times when once you are set as a batsman, once you go past your 100 or double 100, then you just enjoy yourself. Then you just want to spend time at the crease, just enjoy your batting, and that's what I did. I think once I went past 100, that's when I started enjoying my batting a bit more, and that's how I started scoring big runs for Saurashtra.
And making the absolute most of it. So you get picked for India A, you come to England, make a lot of runs there, top that tour, and that felt like it's kind of the last bit you needed to do to impress selectors. You're given that chance in 2010 in a famous Test win for India at Bangalore, and you think, now you're walking into a side with so many greats of the Indian team. You're a young man, but they're all fairly old in cricket in terms, then well and truly into their mid to late 30s, the side being led by the great MS Dhoni as well. And after getting out to a grubber in the first innings, in the second dig, the skipper MS says, you know what, we're going to send you in at number 3 in a run chase. We're going to pop you in ahead of Rahul Dravid, and you make 72 there and contribute to a big win for India. But do you remember how you felt when the skipper comes up and says, we're trusting you to bat at 3 in this chase ahead of Dravid?
Yeah, I still remember that game. As a cricketer, you can't forget your debut game, and when I got out in the first innings, I was so disappointed because I had to make the most of it. I was playing instead of VVS Lakshman, who was injured. Unfortunately, he had a back spasm. Before that, he won a fabulous game for the Indian team. He had a great partnership with Ishant and Oja. Yeah. So I was having a thought that if I don't perform in this, I might not get another opportunity.
Right.
And when I got out in the first innings, I thought that I may not get to bat in the second innings. But when MS came and spoke to me that we'll be promoting you at number 3, just go out there, express yourself. We don't want you to be under pressure. If you are batting at number 5 or 6, and if we lose first 2 or 3 wickets early, then there'll be more pressure on you. So we want you to bat normally, just try and express yourself, play your game. And I just did that. I mean, I don't know how I got to 72, but because I had played so many first-class games, there was pressure, no doubt. I mean, when I went into bat in the second innings, there was pressure. We were chasing close to 210, if I'm remembering it correctly. But I felt that I just wanted to go out there, enjoy myself, express what I've been doing in domestic circuit. I wanted to repeat that. It's never easy when you are playing your first game. I mean, no matter how much experience you have playing at domestic level, but when you are playing for the Indian team, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of expectation, and I came out on top. So I was really, really happy. That was the start, and once I got my success, I told myself that yes, this is my first success. I belong here. I can be successful at the international level. There's a lot to learn. Fortunately, I was part of a team where we, as you mentioned, we had some great players like Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, MS Dhoni, Virendra Sehwag, Gautam Gambhir. I mean, it was packed with some of the greats of Indian cricket, and I was fortunate enough to spend some time with them after my debut game, have a chat. I wanted to know what I can do to be successful at the international level, but and for some of the Indian players, the most important thing is to go overseas and start being successful there. And my question to most of them was, how can I be successful playing in overseas condition?
Yeah, and it starts a bit of a rhythm where you play a lot at home, but not quite so much away from home. So when you return in 2012 to the full-time senior ranks of the Test team, 100 straight away at Hyderabad against New Zealand, then a double ton in the next series you play, an unbeaten one against England at Ahmedabad, which would have meant even more being from your home state, I suppose. Then Australia rock up and play a series the next year where you make another double century at Hyderabad, where your 100 against New Zealand was as well, and you get on this incredible roll, and it's not long before you're established as a senior player.
Yeah, I felt my injury taught me so many things, because my first injury was in 2009, and the second one was in 2011. So that was after my debut.
Right.
And after that, I started playing again for the Indian team in 2012. But having those two injuries was a big setback in my cricketing journey. And there were times where I used to cry. I used to cry because I was out of the game for 6 months, and it happened twice. And then you start thinking that whether will I be able to start playing cricket again? Will I be able to start playing cricket for the Indian team? Because when you have two big injuries in 3 years' time, then you start doubting yourself as a sports person. So thankfully, I had a good support from my family and friends. So mentally, there was a time where I was really frustrated, and I just wanted to start playing cricket again. But yeah, after my second knee surgery, I told myself that I've gone through the first surgery. I can go through this again. I can start my batting again, start finding that rhythm again. And I had to work really hard after my second knee surgery. So that 1 year, I did a lot of hard work. I kept hitting as many balls as I could, and that's the reason I started getting my success from 2012 onwards. So yeah, when I got my first 100 against New Zealand, that's when I knew that I found my rhythm. I belong here. Let me start my journey again, because once you're coming back from a setback, when you are not playing cricket for a long time, then once you start seeing that success again, you want to be there. You want to keep working for as many hours as you can, and you know that you belong there. So to be successful there, to be successful at the highest level, I tried doing whatever I could in my control to, kept playing, kept getting better as a player. And yeah, in next 2-3 years time, I had a lot of success.
Nobody thinks of you as a fast player necessarily, but I like that you're the joint fastest to 1,000 test runs for India as a consequence of those two doubles, including that one against Australia where you put on that huge stand with Murali Vijay. And then, like, again, you've kind of got this period of time where, despite the fact that you've done it, there are some tougher times away from home. So, for example, in England in 2014, you do well in South Africa in 2013, but not quite so well here in 2014. And that's the catalyst for you coming to play county cricket for the first time at Derbyshire. Your first taste of that, relatively small county and so on. What did you think when you first walked in the doors at Derby about the life you were leading there as a pro?
I didn't have a great season with the Indian team. So after that, I thought that it'll be nice for me to, stay back, play some county cricket, start getting familiar with the English conditions where the ball is. At that time, the ball used to move a bit more than what it does now.
Sure.
So, I wanted myself to play a few more games here. So when I walked into the Derbyshire change room, it had a great atmosphere, and when I started playing county cricket, I realized that this is something which I need to do quite often if I want to be successful in Test cricket. I need to challenge myself in such conditions where you improve as a player. Your technique is challenged, your temperament is challenged, you're challenged mentally as well, because there are times, although you are playing at first class level, but even being a pro, you are bound to get failures, and how you deal with those failures, how you bounce back, how how can you challenge yourself to be successful and be consistent at this level. So yeah, I kept after those, it was towards the end of the season, so I was playing 3 games for Derby in September. But after that, I decided that I would love to continue coming to England and keep playing county cricket. So I came to Yorkshire in 2015. And that's how the journey has started. I've been playing county cricket since then.
Yeah, it feels like, even though it was partially a consequence of you not being picked up in the IPL that year, being able to play the full season with Yorkshire, but it's a blessing, isn't it, that you get to play up on a test venue, up at Headingley, week in, week out, and be the proper overseas at a county, not just for a brief stint like it was in 14, but really establish yourself here in much tougher conditions against the moving ball.
Yeah, it does, and as you said, there are benefits of not being picked in the IPL. Because the county season starts in April, IPL is going on at the same time. But I get to come here and play in those couple of months where the ball is moving a bit more. Start of the season is always challenging, especially up north when I was playing for Yorkshire. I was having a tough time because I'm not acclimatized to the weather. It was freezing out there. It was so windy. There are times I had to have 4 layers when I was fielding. So, yeah, I mean, you learn a lot because back home the weather is in March and April, it's actually summertime back home. So you're moving from 40 degrees to 4 degrees, and to get used to all such things, I think you learn so many things. And playing for Yorkshire was it was challenging as a cricketer because you are playing in challenging conditions, but I had a good time with the lads.
Nottinghamshire in 2017 is the other place you go in relatively quick succession, and at the back of that you make a couple of tons straight away for India against Sri Lanka, one of them coming in your 50th test match. You're the second quickest to 4,000 test runs for your country, which is quite the achievement, and it bridges you through to your best ever summer from an output perspective, 16-17, where you score over 2,000 runs in one season at home. Nobody's ever done that in the history of Indian domestic cricket. So, I mean, you were so well placed to come in and have a great series against Australia when they rocked up later in 2017.
Yeah, that couple of years I was enjoying myself. The way I was batting, I felt that I just need to make the most of it. So each and every game I used to play, whether it was a domestic game or whether I was playing for the test team, I was in my rhythm. I didn't have to think a lot. I just wanted to continue my form and try and prolong it for as long as I can. And I still remember the series against Australia in 2017. That is probably one of the toughest series I've been part of. Australia was very well prepared when they came to India. I think before that they had 2 or 3 weeks in Dubai. We lost the first test match at Pune. And after that, I think things did turn around.
That was brutal, wasn't it? You lose 2.5 days at Pune, and it's like crisis time, isn't it?
Yeah, and many people from media, many ex-cricketers did criticize the Indian team, which was fair. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't deny that we didn't play good cricket in that particular test match. But as a team, Anil Kumble was our coach then, and as a team we had a meeting after the first test match. We regrouped as a team. We spoke about bouncing back, but in the second test match we didn't have best of the start. So there was a time where Australia saw that they were very close to winning that test match, and I thought they got a little bit ahead of themselves. There was one point where we were 4 down in 50-60 runs odd, and then I can't remember the exact numbers, but myself and Ajinkya, we were going back into the dressing room, and that's when the chat started. All of them thought that they had almost won the test match, and that's when me and Ajinkya spoke that we need a partnership. If we can add another 100 or 150 runs on the board, we can bounce back in the test match, and that's what happened. We had a very good partnership. We didn't lose any more wicket on that day, and they were just, I think the target was close to 180, but it was a tough pitch, and our bowlers did a great job to defend that total. But that is probably one of the best test matches I've been part of, and the series was 1-1, and then there was a lot to play for.
It was a thrilling test match. I was there commentating it at the Cheteshwar, and Nathan Lyon taking 8 wickets on the first day to bowl India really out inside 70 overs. And the second day, which was the slowest Australia had scored in a test match for 15 years. It was so tight, nip and tuck with Ishant Sharma and right up in the Australians' faces. Then you're right, that comeback which you lead, the 92 you make there, which really does serve as something of a turning point for India in the series. They go on to win. Your great mate Ashwin, who we'll talk about later, picks up 6 for in what becomes the final session, and the rest is kind of history. But then it's not as well, because at Ranchi, Australia start really well once again. Century for Smith, century for Maxwell. They bat for the better part of 5 sessions. And when you walk in, the game is in the balance. and 525 balls, 11 hours later, you're still there. 202. It's the longest ever innings for an Indian Test batsman. It's often said you can get yourself into a trance state. Well, it certainly looks like it from the commentary box that you were in a trance for 2 days. Those rivals like Nathan Lyon, who you've played so much against, Stephen O'Keefe, who'd started the series well, Pat Cummins, who was making his return to Test cricket. They're a pretty good attack, and you were able to repel them hour after hour. Can you give us a sense of how you get into that mental state, that trance-like state, which enables you to maintain concentration for so long?
Well, it's a habit which I've created from a younger age. The moment I started scoring big runs for Saurashtra, that's when I realized that if you have to bat for a longer period, how do you concentrate? How can you keep concentrating for hours and hours? So I think I've learned from domestic cricket, where many times I've batted for 5 or 6 sessions, and if I had to do that in Test cricket, it's never easy, because you are challenged as a batsman a bit more. You don't get as many loose deliveries in international cricket. I feel it's about, as I've been mentioning earlier, that I follow a good routine. So what has helped me immensely to maintain my concentration is I try and do yoga and breathing exercises. And I've been doing that since, like, now I can say about it's been more than 6-7 years that I try and follow it for as long as I can. And I try and give half an hour a day to that.
Yeah, right.
And my prayer routines. So it's about an hour a day where I'm just trying to focus on my mental aspect, where if I can be in a thoughtless mind, where when I'm batting, I just want to achieve that. And when I'm doing my prayers and yoga every day, that helps me reduce my thoughts. So when I'm batting out there in the middle, one thing I want to make sure is that I don't want to think about what has happened in the past. I don't want to think about what will happen in the future. I want to be in present. And how can I be in present is by reducing my thoughts, try and be in that moment. And over a period of time, I can do it for hours and hours. And when you are in the present, I think you are in that zone where you are not getting disturbed. You are not bothered by what is happening around you. Yes, you are conscious. You know that what the bowler is trying to do, what kind of field placement he has, what's his strategy. But you just try and play the ball. You try and play the ball on its merit. And if you can do it for longer period of time, you can always be successful, and you are just in that moment.
You hear a lot of professional athletes talk about getting into the meditative state that you're describing there, but you have to do it for so long is another thing. And I guess that goes back to your discipline and your mother's influence, that when you picked up yoga later in life, that you're able to throw yourself into it to such an extent that you've been able to use it so well when it matters most for you in the middle.
Yeah, and I think it's the pressure moments where, when as a cricketer, when you are put under pressure, how do you deal with that? International cricket is all about dealing the pressure moment with calmness, and that comes with preparation as well. I believe strongly in my preparation. I try and make sure that I have the best preparation before the series starts, and most of my success in Australia is because the way I've prepared before the series started. So sometimes when you are playing an opposition, you know what kind of bowling attack will they have. Like Australia has, probably one of the best seam attack, but you know that you are going to face Pat Cummins, you are going to face Hazelwood. Unless there is an injury, the bowling lineup is not going to change. So you know that what are their line and length. There are certain things which they do on the field. You know that these are the strategies which they're going to use on the field.
Yep.
And you want to be, as a batsman, you want to be prepared for that. And there are times where I've been challenged as well, because they read you as a batsman. They know over a period of time they start realizing my strength, and they don't want to they feed me balls there. So yeah, it's always a constant battle. But if you are well prepared as a cricketer, not just against one particular opposition, but whichever opposition you play against, if you are very well prepared, then you have the best chance of succeeding.
It's this sustained purple patch through 2017 and into 18-19, perhaps your finest hour as an Indian Test cricketer. But the incongruity of you not playing that first Test here in England in 2018, which I think all of us who'd followed your career pretty close, like, what are they doing? What on earth are they doing? That you missed that first Test, you come back and make runs at Trent Bridge, where you'd been at Notts a few years earlier. The unbeaten century at Southampton, batting all day, which should have been match-winning, really, getting India to a first innings lead, and unfortunately you guys kind of threw it away a little bit in the second half of the Tests. But it didn't get any tougher than that with that Dukes ball in 2018, did it? It was a series where ball absolutely dominated bat.
Yeah, it did, and that's what you expect when you come to England. I mean, things have changed now. Pitches are much better. The ball isn't swinging as much as what it used to do. But in 2018, we knew, because whenever India used to travel overseas, then we knew that we'll end up playing, most of the games we'll end up playing on a seaming track.
Yep.
We didn't have the best of bowling lineup. We started improving from 2017 onwards. But if you look at the current Indian bowling lineup, we have probably some of the best seamers in the world. But at that time, we were lacking that, and that's the reason we ended up playing more on a seaming track, where as a batsman it used to be challenging. I thought we always could have bowled little better. And yes, when you are challenged in a seaming condition, we didn't react well as a batting unit as well. So that's the reason I thought we were not as successful as we could have. But I mean, I love some of those challenging pitches, because as a cricketer, when you start playing on those pitches, when you start performing on those pitches, you know that whatever you have worked on, whatever your preparation was before the series, it's paying off.
There was probably no one better prepared to succeed in that series in the Indian dressing room compared to you, given all the cricket in England. But the guy we remember from that series is Kohli. You know, it's funny, you win one Test and lose 4, but people still speak of the hundreds that Kohli made at Birmingham and at Nottingham. Your reflections on playing with a guy who's going to go down as an all-time great in the middle of the most productive part of his career, when he's your captain as well.
Yeah, he's one of the best cricketers India has produced, so there's no doubt the way he performed. He was, I still remember, because both of us were part of the series in 2014 here, and he didn't succeed as much as he wanted, and he was so frustrated after that. So before 2018, he did a lot of he did a lot of research on what went wrong in 2014. He wanted to correct that.
Yep.
So he was very well prepared, and he was a lot more positive. He knew he had to bat well, probably on fourth stump line. So he nicked quite a few times in 2014. So he knew that the England team will try and bowl him there, and he kept practicing those lines, those lengths as well. And I felt that his positive approach, he was a bit more positive. His stride was much better, and I think even his footwork, it was very precise, and not many players can do that, because his strength is his cover drives on the offside, and he kept playing those cover drives, and not many players can achieve that against a swinging ball, and he was the one who could do it again and again. And I mean, see, once he starts getting into his rhythm, yes, he scored many hundreds in that series, but you know how he's batting. I mean, once you know that once he crosses 20-30 runs, he knows. I mean, you know when you're watching him play that he's in control, and the way he was batting then, it wasn't just about the runs, but the way he was batting was really commendable.
It felt pretty clear from the outside looking in that India were building to something special through that 2018 period, and so it proved in Australia. Now, you'd been there in 14-15, hadn't been there in 11-12 through injury, but in 14-15 you did well without quite cracking the code yourself. That all changes in 18-19, and it starts on the opening day of the series in Adelaide, where you bat all day for 123 after India lost all those wickets in the first session from 41 for 4. You find a way to get them out of trouble, as you did, well, I say did routinely through the series. You're in control for most of it, but that was the one day when the top order did really backfire. Being able to do it on day one against an Australian attack who were all over you early on, and being able to get to the other end of that and lay a foundation for the series. Your memories of that day at Adelaide Oval?
I would say that is one of my best test innings. If I had to rate top five, that'll be there in top five.
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't get off to a good start, but sometimes when we are put under pressure, I think as a player, I always love those challenging moments where we are 3 or 4 down, but we want to bail the team out of trouble. And that's when after lunch, I told myself that if I can hang around a bit more, if I can carry on playing until tea time, then after tea, I think I'll be able to dominate a bit more. But I mean, you are not certain because you're losing. We were losing too many wickets at the other end. But I had a good partnership with Rohit after lunch. Then Ashwin came in and he was batting well. But once we lost him, once he got out, I had to take the charge. I was set, and yes, for some reason I always bat well with the tailenders because I've done that over a period of time in domestic cricket for Saurashtra. So I knew that once we won, I think we lost seven. Yeah, we were 7 down. I can't remember whether it was 7 or 8. But once Shami walked in, I told him that I'm the one who will try and keep the strike, try and play as many balls as possible. You just try and defend as long as you can, and if we can get to say 250, you guys will be able to bowl them out. And he agreed. I mean, there was enough in that pitch. I just had to make sure that we go past. First target was obviously to go past 200, but when we were closer to 250. I felt that we were in a comfortable position, and at the end of day one, we all had a meeting. We thought that this is the kind of pitch our seamers would love to bowl on.
Yep.
And they did that. The way they bowled in the first innings, it proved that if we had enough runs on the board and we were right in the game.
One of the more famous run-outs of your career as well, I guess, with Pat Cummins hitting the stumps just before the close with one stump to aim at, and that was the 4th time you were run out in 2018. No one's ever been run out more than 4 times in 1 year. What do you attribute that to? Just bad luck, or was there something going on with you running between
fielding.
the wickets?
I would say exceptional fielding. After bowling for so many hours, that was towards the end of the day. So I had to keep the strike. I couldn't allow Shami to be on strike, so I thought that he has bowled so many overs. Maybe it was, I think, 5th ball of the over, and I could take that single. But the way he fielded, the way he released the ball, I was nowhere in the crease, and it was exceptional fielding from him.
It was an exceptional test match as well. Australia get back into it on the final day. You make runs as well in the second dig, as you did pretty much every time you batted in that series. But you go 1-0 up, a tight finish. You hold your nerve with the ball. Ashwin at the end. Amazing scenes with the team coming together as one and believing you could do it in Australia for the first time. Fast forwarding to Boxing Day, the 3rd Test match of the series, you face 319 deliveries for 106, and you pretty much break Australia on a track that you can break a bowling attack on, I suppose. And someone like Nathan Lyon, who you've played so much cricket against, that was a series where you just started dancing at him and defending, dance, defend, kick him away. I mean, you're used to the feet, and that rivalry with Lyon. I think you identify people dancing down the track at spinners as being an aggressive move, but you turned it into a primary form of defence for you against him, especially.
In that particular series, I had to do that because in Australia he always gets that extra bounce, and he was quite clever enough to not feed me the ball when I was dancing down the track. So he used to pull back his length, and the only way I could get out of it was to defend and try and use my pads. But yeah, it did disrupt his length. So I felt that I had to keep doing that. I mean, it did help me. But credit goes to him, the way he has been bowling in all these years. We have a great rivalry, but he's probably one of the toughest off spinner I've ever faced. Yes, I've got many runs against him, but it's a great battle to be for me to have it on the field. I think to face him, and over a period of time he has improved as a bowler. I still remember facing him first, was it in 2012, but after that I think he has improved a lot. He has played more than 100 test matches now. And yeah, it's a great battle to have against him. But yeah, in that particular Test match, talking about scoring that 100 in more than, was it 300 balls?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a tough pitch. It was slightly on the slower side. We were a little surprised because normally you expect pitch to be in Australia. You expect a bit more pace and bounce, and many did criticize after that game that Australia should have produced a bit more pace and bounce in that particular Test match. But yeah, we were happy. I think I had to be really, really patient to score that 100 because there wasn't enough pace, and I had to work a bit harder to earn my boundaries. So I was patient, and I knew that once you have enough runs on the board, our seamers was doing the job. Even our spinners, Ashwin was bowling really well. So we were very confident as long as we have runs on the board.
My recollection is that after you win at Adelaide and win at Melbourne, that by the time you arrived at Sydney, you had overtaken all of these glamorous Indian players as the national hero. I remember working with Harsha Bhogle through that series, and he was putting voice to this, that you were the man, that everything was being built upon. You make, of course, another century at Sydney, 193 from 373 balls on that occasion. So you finished the series with 521 runs at 74. You faced 1,258 deliveries, the most runs, the most balls ever, rather, absorbed by a visiting batsman across 4 Test matches. You're the player of the series by a mile, and it's India's first Test win in a series against Australia. I mean, to play the way you did, to step up the way you did, and to be adored the way you were, that must be something you look back on with an enormous amount of fondness.
Yes, I do. I think that is one of the best Test series for me personally, and even as a team. A lot of the players have from the Indian team have played enough cricket together, and for us it was probably one of the best overseas victories. It was first ever on Australian soil for the Indian team after say 72 years.
Yep.
So yeah, everyone enjoyed. We had a great time after the series, and even during the series I think guys had to work really hard to win each and every Test match. So as a unit, we went through a lot. There were ups and downs, but yeah, I think we were together and we celebrated that victory, and that particular victory meant a lot to me and even to the entire team. So we enjoyed that series.
And as a group of senior players now, for Virat too, having that on his CV, being the guy who led India to victory in Australia, I know he's part of the series the next time around, but it was kind of a series in 18-19. His personality, there was so much about him. He was front and centre. Every media interview, you know, every controversy in the middle. He seemed to be in the middle of everything. But you guys can all look back on that now and go that that's the kind of high watermark of his captaincy career.
Yeah, it is. And someone like him, you know, for him, overseas victory meant a lot. And as a group, we had discussed about this in say 2017, that we will be playing some away series going forward, and our aim is to try and win as many series and as many Test matches as possible overseas. So we spoke about that. We were very well prepared. Our seamers were very well prepared, supported by our spinners. So we were up for the challenge. But when you come out on top, when you start seeing that success, you see as a player, and even for him as a skipper, I mean, I thought it meant a lot. It gave him a lot of confidence in himself, and even in our team, because sometimes you start doubting yourself as a team when you are not successful overseas. Right. But once you start doing well overseas, you gain a lot of confidence. You start believing that you can be successful overseas, no matter what kind of team you have. Because with the Indian team, we don't have the best of bowling all-rounder. Someone like, say, England has Ben Stokes, Australia has Mitchell Marsh, Cameron Green now. So we never had such a seamer, or such a batter who could bowl a bit. So yeah, to find the right balance overseas, we have always been struggling a bit. But the way we played in 2018 and following year, uh, or I would say in next 3 years time, in whatever overseas series we played, we were always being competitive. We challenged the opposition, and I thought that was probably the best period for the Indian cricket.
And for your dad as well, like knowing all that work he'd put into you, and your wife, I know you've spoken about, and I've read her talk about you before, and the different energy they bring to your life, where she, it seems like she, just again, just reading her comments in the past, she's so energetic and bubbly and learning the game more so, and your dad who's a battle-hardened cricket person, the two of them being able to be part of that success with you.
Yeah, they've been a great support. I haven't spoken much about my five yet, but since our engagement, she has been a great support to me, and she has learnt a lot about the game. Initially, when we got engaged, the good thing was she didn't know anything about cricket. She didn't know who I was as an international cricketer. So I wanted to marry someone who likes me as a person, not as a cricketer. And the fortunate thing was she didn't know much about cricket, but after that, once she got to know me, she started following cricket, and over a period of time her knowledge of the game is it has improved immensely. After that series, my daughter was just before the series, my daughter was born. So when I went back home after the 2018 series, all of us were really, really happy. I told my wife that this is probably the biggest present I've got for my daughter, and she did agree. We felt as a family that was one of the best series I've been part of.
Tremendously special. Then there's, of course, the COVID interregnum, which interrupts the rhythm for the global game more generally. But you rock up in Australia again in 2020-21. There's been documentaries made about it. There's been the book written about it, of course, as well, mentioning Virat earlier. But for you guys to go down in the heat the way you did in Adelaide, having won there a couple of summers before, and then for Virat to leave the tour to be at the birth of his own first child, of course, fair enough, and then to have to do it the way you did in Sydney, let's start there, and then subsequently Brisbane after winning in Melbourne with the brilliant Ajinkya Rahane centuries. But for you personally, in Sydney, you played two of your slowest innings ever. An even 50 from 176 balls in the first innings and 77 from 205 deliveries in the second. Even now, you'll pick up commentary from time to time from people who question your intent at the middle, and they'll reflect on innings you've played in the last few years, like those at Sydney. Does that frustrate you, that people just don't understand that your role sometimes is less about ticking the board over and more about absorbing pressure and exhausting the opposition attack? The very fact that you've been around this long and people still don't seemingly get this?
Well, I've accepted that I'll be questioned all the time with my approach, because there are times where I try and play the condition, I try and play the situation rather than thinking about the scoreboard. So if I end up playing too many dots, people in the commentary, there are times where they will start questioning that, but I have never moved away from my methods. I still feel that one has to assess the condition, assess the situation, what the opposition is trying to do, and then when the time comes, you start accelerating. So it's about trying to do the best for the team rather than thinking about what the outside noise is, and I try and stay away from it, because there are times where when you are playing in Australia, commentators will pass on the comment, and probably they want Australia to do well.
Sure.
And sometimes they think that if they say such things, it might put a little bit more pressure on me. And that's the reason I try and stay away from the media whenever I'm playing at the international level, whether it's not just in Australia, but whether it's in India, whether it's in England. When I'm playing matches, I try and stay away from the media, because I know what my role is for the team. I know how can I contribute to the team, and I've been successful in the past with the same method. So there are times where you may not be as successful as I've been in the past. So 2019 was probably a time where Australia did a very good job of going through my videos of what I did in the past, what I did well in 2018 series, and they came with a strategy. So to counter that, I had to take some time, because I was coming from from COVID. Like everyone,
Yep.
all of us went through a lot because during COVID, I didn't get the best of the facilities to practice. We were confined. We were before each and every series, we had to do the quarantine for 14 days. So it was challenging as a player because you are trying to find your rhythm. And for me, it took a lot of time to get my rhythm back to start scoring runs. But the only good thing I could do in that series is that I still I still believed in my abilities. I still thought that if I was successful in 2018, I could repeat that. Maybe not with as many runs, but I don't want to change my strategy. I want to stick to what I've been doing in the past, and I stuck to it, and probably that helped the team immensely later on.
Another player in your dressing room who people like to second guess seemingly all the time despite his prolific record is your mate Ashwin. I'm really interested in your very close friendship over the years. That it feels like you're two different personalities in there, compared to the we come back to the idea of flashier players, T20 players who make their multi-million-dollar contracts in the IPL and who have their name chanted around stadiums for bombing the ball, 130 metres or whatever it works out to be these days. Then there's you and him. I mean, you're very close. Your wives are very close. Your daughters are very close. You spend a lot of time together on and off the field. And referring to that Sydney Test match from early 2021, there's Ashwin with under so much pressure with his back completely gone. I mean, you must have been so proud of him having played your innings that 4 or 5 hours later he's the guy that gets you to safe harbour and earns you the draw under serious pressure with his back completely destroyed.
Yeah, I think it was a great effort from him. There was a time where we were not sure whether he will be able to bat, but he showed a lot of courage at that time. And despite having that back issue, the way he batted was really great to see. It brought a different atmosphere in the dressing room after that game because when we saw that we could, our players are fighting for the team, despite all the odds, things were not going our way. There were so many injuries in the team.
Yep.
If you start from the first test matches, there have been a lot of changes in the playing 11. So, yeah, I mean, as a team, it wasn't the best time for us because after each and every game, you see someone getting injured. We didn't have the best playing 11 if you just look at it from the experience perspective. Australia had a lot more experienced players, but I think it's important to stay together, and that's what we did. Despite all the odds, what we decided is that we want to be together in this. Whether we win or lose, it doesn't matter, but we want to be competitive on the field. And many players showed a lot of character during that series. And I felt that despite all the odds, the way, despite having so many injuries in the dressing room, it also allowed some of the young players to showcase their skills at the highest level. And I think thanks to the IPL, because they have played so many games in the IPL, they know how to handle the pressure. And whenever someone made the debut, they still made an impact to the team. And I think they were prepared for that situation because of the IPL. I know, IPL is a different format altogether.
Yep.
But many of our younger players, having played the IPL, I think you know how to perform under pressure. It's never easy. I think it's a different ball game altogether. But having that experience of playing at the highest level, playing with some of the international cricketers, did help some of our younger players to perform well in the test format as well.
And that kinship I mentioned with you and Ashwin, which of course starts as a cricketing friendship and expands from there, but the importance in that, I guess, like that fishbowl, right, of Indian cricket, where there's so many people looking in and wondering and pondering and speculating and all the rest of it. You've got someone that you're close to sitting next to you in that dressing room, and you can draw strength from that relationship.
Yes, you do, and we always keep talking about the game. Whenever he's bowling, if I have any inputs, I'll always go to him, and then I'll speak to him that we can have this field. You might you might want to bowl a particular line to a batsman. Anyways, he does his research before each and every game. He sees a lot of videos. He's very clear with his game plan. But if there are any suggestions, if there's anything which I need to, tell him, he's always open-minded with that. And same with me. I think even if he has anything to discuss with me about my batting, we always try and share knowledge as much as possible. So if he has any inputs, I'll be more than happy to ask. Sometimes I'll go and ask him that, what do you think, Ash? What should be my strategy in the next game? So we keep discussing about cricket, and that helps us. It's important to know a bowler's perspective, because when he's bowling at me, what are his strategies? Probably it's just a net session, but when he's bowling at me in the nets, he reads me. So I try and gain knowledge from him, that if I'm facing Nathan Lyon, what can I do? What can I do differently if I have to be successful against him? Or it could be any other seamer as well. And yeah, even as a batter, I think when I'm feeling most of the times I'm at leg slip or somewhere in the inner ring, and when he's bowling, if I'm reading a batsman, I know that if David Warner is trying to do something against Ashwin, or if Steven Smith is trying to do something against Ashwin, I'll try and walk to Ash, and I'll try and tell him that, look, it might be worth him going around the stumps, try and change the angle or whatever. It could be a smaller thing, but sometimes when you try and share that knowledge, it always helps.
The plans you spoke of with the Australians realising they had to find a different way to you in 2021, it was quite brutal, wasn't it? I mean, they really did target your body and your helmet as much as they could, and there was no better example of that than the final innings at Brisbane. We all talk about that fabulous run chase on the final day, and what Shubman Gill did, and what Rishabh did, and subsequently what Washington Sundar did at the end. But you personally, facing 211 balls for your 56, your slowest half century ever, breaking the record from the previous week, but copping that pounding, and your little girl who was born after the 18-19 series, they're watching you at Brisbane saying, in tears, reportedly, saying, why are they hurting my dad? I mean, it's a very different perspective, isn't it? That you're being bashed up, whereas it was you beating up the Australians a couple of years before, but still, you come out on top.
Yeah, I think it's about trusting your method, and I felt that on that particular pitch, I had a clear game plan. I wanted to make sure that I don't try and get on top of the ball, because from one end there was an extra bounce, and I decided that if the ball hits my body, I'll still be at the crease. I won't get out. So, yeah, I had a clear game plan that I just want to bat for first session and try and take it from there. And the way Shubman Gill was batting, he was having he was in his best rhythm. So he was playing his shots, and I just had to support him from the other end. And after lunch, if you look at the pitch, it did get better to bat on, and things got a little easier. Yes, I still ended up getting hit on many occasions, but I felt that I could still be in the present rather than thinking about the last delivery. Even if I got hit, I could move on from that and then still look at the positives, that I'm still at the crease. I'll still be facing the next ball, and I kept doing that. I think I trusted my methods, and that's the reason I came out on top without worrying about what will happen. I honestly didn't know that at that time I didn't think that we'll end up winning that test match. For me, it's about just try and being present and try and play the ball rather than thinking, because when you get hit on the body, sometimes as a player you start thinking that what if you get hit again, what will happen in the next ball, and when you start worrying about the next ball, then you are not able to have the same footwork, or maybe you're not able to watch the ball the same way which you should be. So if you can forget what has happened in the past, you are giving yourself the best chance to play the next ball. And I could do that, and I don't know how I did that, because if I look back at that particular innings and look back at how many times I got hit, I mean, it was just a courageous effort. That's what I would say. I don't know. I mean, if I had to do that again, will I be able to do it? Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah,
the respect that it earned, though, right? I mean, you win in Australia, and we won't go into too much depth about that because we kind of have around 18, 19 and what it meant to Indian cricket. But at the IPL auction, getting picked up and getting that standing ovation from everyone in the room, it was almost, I think we can acknowledge now that it was a token of appreciation, you being selected for that IPL. But that kind of does correspond with an interesting part of your career too, where there is another little trough through 2021. You enjoy success as a team in England, winning those there's test matches in London, but you don't go on to have the kind of series that you would want on an individual level, and you eventually lose your spot in South Africa in another low-scoring series. But you get back again, the old school way. Piles and piles and piles of runs in the Ranji Trophy, and over here for Sussex, and you return last year for the one-off, what became the one-off test against England, and you get another opportunity against your old nemesis Australia, another series win against them, your 100th test match. And I mean, whether it's the end or not, whether you get picked again or not, how proud are you that you're able to get back in the side for that final stretch, which in the most recent run culminated in the World Test Championship final at the Oval?
Yeah, see, for me, to play for the Indian team is always a great pride, and I always enjoy playing for the Indian team. There have been ups and downs in the last few years, and it tests you as a player, because having played, say, more than 90 test matches when I got dropped, I still had to prove myself. I still had to prove that I still belong there. And it's a different kind of challenge. I mean, sometimes you do get frustrated. Sometimes you do feel that even if you have to prove yourself after playing 90 odd test matches, having scored more than 5,000-6,000, whatever number of runs I've scored, it's never easy. I think sometimes it plays around with your ego. You feel that having, being successful at the international level for so many years, and there are still doubts whether are you good enough, and if you have to prove yourself again and again, whether it's worth it. And I keep telling myself that I know that I belong there. I know that the kind of contributions I've made to the Indian cricket, I still have a lot to contribute. And I was given an interesting stat somewhere through that time, where I was told that whenever I have scored more than 70 or 80 runs for the Indian team, I think it's about 80% of the time India has gone on to winning the test match, or we haven't lost that particular test match. So I know that if I score runs for the Indian team, most of the times we are on the winning side. And even if I have to go through some hard work in domestic cricket, whether playing domestic cricket in India, or whether, if I enjoy playing cricket for Sussex, so the moment I start scoring runs here, it does get noticed back home. That's not the reason I play for Sussex. I play for Sussex because I enjoy playing cricket here. But yeah, I mean, the amount of runs I score here or back home in domestic cricket, it always helps me getting back into the team. And I still believe that I have a lot to offer, and I hope I'll continue working hard. Look, I always believe that there are certain things which you can control as a cricketer, and I try and focus on that rather than thinking about my selection. Will I be able to make the comeback? The time will tell. But I think as long as I'm able to score runs in each and every game, as long as I'm improving as a cricketer, I always keep working hard on my fitness. I keep working hard on improving my fielding. So these are the things which I can control, and as long as I'm doing that over a period of time, I know that gives me a lot of confidence that whenever I get my opportunity next, I'll be very well prepared for it. So yeah, I feel that there are in my cricketing career, I've been put under pressure so many times where I've lost my spot in the team. But yeah, you just try and play for the team. You don't try and play for your spot. I would keep it very simple, because if you try and play for your spot, you you are another selfish cricketer who is just being there in the playing 11 and playing for the sport but not contributing to the team. So if I'm not if I'm not good enough to contribute to the team, I'm happy sitting at home rather than just scoring. I mean, just to give you an example, if I score say 20 when I get out on 20 or 30, a score of 20 or 30, I mean, it's not that as a batsman you want to get out, but if you score another 20, 30 more, and if you end up scoring a 50, and India doesn't go on to win the test match, is it going to be helpful for the Indian team? No. It might be helpful to me as an individual,
Right.
but I never have that thought process. I am someone who will think that if I should be good enough to win games for the Indian team and not just try and survive and just be part of the playing 11. Because as a cricketer, you want to be in the team and make a difference, not just be in the team.
There's something you said there about controlling what you can control. I wonder, being such a senior and venerated player, whether, and you and your colleagues like Virat and Rohit might have some control over the pitches that you served up at home, and by that I mean, and I don't expect you to get stuck into your curators and to the BCCI, but it is pretty clear that pitches over time in India have been set up to create fast test matches and make the most of your spinning group and taking advantage of that comparative advantage, I suppose. But it does mean that batting in India for Indian batsmen is a lot harder than it was when you started. The conditions are degrees of difficulty harder.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you love to be batting on pitches that were more akin to what you saw in 2013 or 2017 or 2012 or whatever it is, compared to what you've had the last couple of times that we'll say England and Australia have been out, for example?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we have been playing on challenging pitches in last say 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
But it's not just in India, even overseas when we play away from home, many times we end up playing a test match which finishes in 4 days. And I think that is more to do with the WTC. Most of the teams want to get a result out of a test match. No one wants a draw. And that's the reason I think the test cricket has moved a bit away from what it should be. I think where either it's too batting friendly or it's towards the bowler side, where matches are finishing in 3 or 4 days time. So you need to have the right balance. I feel for test cricket to survive, you need to play on pitches which are true pitches, which if you bat well you should be able to score 100, and if you bowl well you should be able to pick a 5 for whether you're a seamer or a spinner. And you expect spinners to pick more wickets in Indian conditions, and lately we are playing on pitches which are a bit more challenging for the batters, and there are times where we end up playing on a pitch where it's too batter friendly, and I mean you end up getting a draw. So to avoid the draws, you end up playing on a pitch where the game finishes in 3 days. But I completely agree that you need to find the right balance where there is enough in it for the bowlers, but still the pitch should be good enough for a batter to score 100.
You've said, and as we start to wind down the conversation, that you are determined to get back in that Indian team. It's quite interesting that people had said you retired after that West Indies omission recently, but you're very committed to that. I'm interested in your domestic commitment as well. I mean, you're 35, and let's do a few maths here, right? You've nearly made 20,000 first-class runs. You've now made 60 first-class centuries, 8 of them here in a very short amount of time here at Sussex. If you keep playing in the Ranji Trophy all the way through and keep playing for Sussex every year as well, you're a chance of 100 first-class hundreds. And I don't know the extent to which you care about the history of the game. You might not care at all, but it's improbable that anyone will ever have the chance to do that again. You might be the last player in the history of professional cricket that could achieve 100 first-class hundreds. I mean, is that something that might encourage you to play for another 6-7 years if you can, even if you're not necessarily playing for India?
No, of course not. I wouldn't think about that. I would try and enjoy my cricket rather than... I'm not a guy who would, look at the stats and probably try and see that if I can get to 100 first-class hundreds. No, definitely not. I'll try and play cricket till the time I enjoy. Yes, I am enjoying my cricket. I want to continue enjoying the game rather than thinking about how many hundreds can I get. I think it's... there are times where we pay too much attention to the stats in this game, but it's more about what you bring to the team, what are your contributions to the team. It's about winning games, and whenever I'm here, yeah, I mean, people talk up talk a lot about my hundreds and the kind of impact I've made for Sussex team. But it's about, I always feel that it's about winning games for Sussex rather than or winning games for Saurashtra or winning games for the Indian team, rather than just scoring hundreds. Yes, as a batsman, you always want to score 100, but if your 100 is not on a winning side, you will still get disappointed. So for me, most of my hundreds are on the winning side, and sometimes some of my best test innings are not even 100. Like we spoke about 92 at Bangalore. I didn't get 100, but it was such a crucial inning for the team, and I would probably want to play more such innings rather than get more hundreds. So yeah, I mean, I strongly believe that it's a team sport, and you want to win matches for the team, and not just pay too much attention to your stats.
It's worth noting it could be a byproduct of you playing for a long time, though. Who's to know? And that longevity question too. Now that you're the captain at Sussex here and enjoying it so much, is your intention to, if possible, come back for, I don't know, how many years would you think is a threshold that you'd like to keep coming back and doing both summers, both the Indian summer and the English summer?
Well, it's hard to tell. I mean, I keep saying this again and again. I like to be in present, so okay. I don't want to think too much about my future. I enjoy playing for Sussex. Hopefully, I'll come back again next year. And I would just try and think that far, not too far ahead, because once you are in your 30s, you want to work a bit more on your fitness. You want to try and stay as fit as possible for longer period of time. Even if I don't want to play cricket later on, but I am someone who will keep working on my fitness, because that is something which is part of my routine now. So even to stay healthy, I'll keep working on my fitness. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how long I'll continue playing cricket. But for now, definitely yes. I mean, next few years, definitely yes. I want to keep playing first class cricket. Try and make a comeback into the Indian team, and then try and see. We'll reassess in few years' time. But yeah, for me, it's about enjoying my game, enjoying my life apart from cricket as well. I stay away from the family, so whenever I get an opportunity to be with my family, I want to enjoy that time. I stay away from my daughter's childhood. At times, I'm not at home when she's growing up. She's learning new things, so I want to spend enough time with the family as well. But at the same time, yes, I mean, when I know that my wife also knows that if I have to play cricket, if I have to continue playing professional cricket for a few more years, that's the hard part of our life, and she's very supportive in that, and I'm really thankful to her for all the contributions she has done and sacrifices she has made, and hopefully, I mean, this journey will continue, and fingers crossed. I mean, and I would just like to enjoy my time.
I'm sure you're making them very proud. You've made a lot of people very happy following your career over the years. We've loved it here on The Final Word. It's been a real privilege spending the last little while with you, talking about your journey in the game. Cheteshwar Pujara, thanks for being part of it.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam.